Also joining us, Democratic National Committee Chair Tom Perez. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here. Tom, let me just start with you on the larger issue of Donald Trump going out of his way daily in tweets, in announcements, in press conferences to already delegitimize mail-in voting. He says this is going to be the most fraudulent election we've ever seen. He told Chris Wallace a week ago that he is not committing to accepting the results of the election. Tell me how you are thinking about this and how you are dealing with it.
Vote by mail is safe, it's secure, it's been used with great success across the country. We know that. Donald Trump votes by mail. Most of his cabinet votes by mail. And across this country, Ali, you mentioned we're 101 days till the election. Well, actually, voting starts September the 14th in Arizona. Voting starts in about 6 weeks in North Carolina. And we understand that. And what we want to make sure happens this November is that people have choice. It's really important to make sure people have choice. People who want to vote in person, we need to make sure they can vote in person. People who want to vote early, the more you maximize early voting, then you can minimize lines and you can be consistent with social distancing principles. And then, of course, no excuse absentee. You mentioned Pennsylvania. We have other states that are doing the same. And what we've been doing is working vigilantly to build out the most aggressive, expansive voter protection infrastructure that we've ever seen, not only at the Democratic Party, but in the Democratic ecosystem. We understand what Donald Trump is trying to do. And here's the drill. It's not working. It's not working because people understand vote by mail is easy. It is safe. They've been doing it in Florida for some time. They've been doing it across the country for some time. And what we will continue to do is educate voters, organize. The reason we were able to win the primary in Wisconsin in April is because we ran a really aggressive campaign. So success for vote by mail involves organizing. Yeah. It involves litigation, and we will continue to sue. It involves making sure that people know the rules of engagement. Pennsylvania has a new set of rules of engagement, and we need to do more, and we are doing a remarkable number of things to make sure people are prepared and can exercise those rights to vote. But we have to have choice for voters. That's critical.
Kim, well, here's the one issue. I've talked to a lot of people who have participated in protests, and they're really into the protests. And a few of them, more than a few, have told me they're not that into voting. They really believe in the concept of the protest here. And my response has generally been, just find one person and explain to them what the new rules of engagement are. The problem is we've got 50 different rules of engagement in America. They are all a little different. So what do you think the most crucial thing people need to know about this election is? We think it's about who you're voting for, but it's actually about how you're voting.
Well, it's a number of things. One is we are voting in November, not just for the president, but for democracy itself. You've had guests this morning talk about the slip into authoritarianism under this president. That is something that harms everyone, regardless of political party. Number two, we do have a safe system of voting. Mail-in balloting has worked in a number of states, 5 states almost exclusively. However, states are strapped for money. It's hard to get volunteers to man the polls. They don't have the expertise across the board in mail-in voting. So there will be things that slip through the cracks, and people need, as Tom Perez mentioned, to think about voting now. Need to order your mail-in voting, your mail-in ballot now. Need to register now. Make sure you're registered, even if you believe you're registered, and follow the directions very carefully. We saw in California, we saw in Pennsylvania, mail-in ballots that weren't counted because the signature wasn't where it needed to be, or it wasn't, the ballot was not postmarked on time. And we're going to see soon millions of Americans potentially become evicted. That's another complicating factor that, 20 million people without an address could make things even more complicated. We're adding that to the difficulty in voting. I believe this has to be something every single person needs to take into their own hands. We see there is a government that is going to make every possible effort, professionals who are on the front lines of democracy at the ballot box every year, but this year is particularly crucial in a pandemic. Vote by mail. If that doesn't happen, prepare to vote early. States are going to early voting. And if that can't work for you, show up on voting day with your hand sanitizer and your mask. And if they try to turn you away, ask for a provisional ballot. And as you indicate, Ali, I agree. Get one person to join you in this effort. We have approximately 50% of eligible voters who vote in America. And the Knight Foundation in January did a study. The number one obstacle is apathy, the belief that your vote doesn't matter. We saw this in the civil rights movement. People like MLK marching, and that message for politicians to pay attention to these issues. The way that implements into policy, into legislation, is the vote. It's a 1-2 step. You have to do the vote to follow up on the protests.
Yep. Tom, real quick, I just want to ask you about how you are preparing for the idea that Donald Trump says he is not committing to accepting the outcome of the election on the night of November 3rd, and it may be several more nights because we've got mail-in voting. Donald Trump, you know what he's going to do. He's going to delegitimize the results. How are you going to fight that?
Well, of course, we're going to fight back by organizing early, organizing everywhere. Our battlefield continues to increase. It's really important, Ali, to take a look at the last 3 years. I know we've had challenges, but what the last 3 years, 17, 18, 19, and the 2020 primary have in common is we've seen lights out turnout among Democrats, whether it was the New Hampshire primary, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Louisiana last year. Democrats are motivated. Our battleground continues to increase. Voters understand that our democracy is on the ballot. We have a president who's the most dangerous president in American history. And we have a candidate in Joe Biden who is the perfect candidate to meet the moment, a candidate who understands the struggles of the American people. And Joe Biden has attracted a remarkably diverse array of supporters. And so the best antidote to all this fear-mongering from Donald Trump is for us to turn out in force like we have done in the primaries. That's exactly what we're doing in the Democratic Party. This is another weekend of action where we are going across the country in these critical battleground states. We take nothing for granted. We're organizing everywhere, and voters understand that this president has put their lives at risk. He's put their jobs at risk. He has upended the guardrails of democracy. And what I think the best thing that we can do as Democrats, independents, former Party of Lincoln Republicans is come out, vote in force. We've already seen that, and that's exactly what this weekend of action and every weekend of action. We got 15 Sundays until the election. We are not wasting a moment. And I'm very proud of the team we've built, the partnership we have with the Biden campaign. And Joe Biden is indeed the person for the moment. And we can't lose sight of the lights out turnout we've seen. We tend to allow this president to try to distract us. In 2018, it was the caravans. This year, it's all of it's Portland. It's trying to distract us from this. Folks, he's trying to distract us because he's chronically ineffective. And we will send a very strong message on November the 3rd and before by early voting, and we will take the democracy of our country back.
Thanks to both of you for being with us this morning. Kim Whaley is the author of What You Need to Know About Voting and Why. Tom Perez is the chair of the Democratic National Committee.